Well, hello there, and welcome to our Inner Peace to World Peace podcasts and our special series that explores the profound power of silence in our noisy world.
Actually, when you say to someone that please be quiet, they take it like please shut up. That's the whole problem. And but what we mean by silence is actually the inner voice, which is always on interpreting, analyzing, judging, evaluating each and every data that our senses comes across.
Welcome to Dr. V Inner Peace to World Peace podcasts, hosted by the globe-trotting scientist Dr. V, an author, lecturer, world peace specialist, and regular guest on many talk shows. Interact with our guests and the good doctor during the show by calling in live or hanging in the chat room. Subscribe and participate even more at drv.com. Now, get ready to take your mind to the next level and explore the secrets of inner peace to world peace.
And in today's episode with Shashank Kasliwal, we delve into the art of inner stillness to discover how silence can be the gateway to aligning not only with our deepest selves, but with all that is. Well, welcome to the show, Shashank.
And I really love the calmness that's there in your voice. You have already set the tone of the podcast.
That's wonderful, because we do live in a very busy, noisy world, don't we?
Yeah, the world is definitely noisy, but I feel that the inner world that we live in is more noisier than the external world.
And all the more reason for this profound series that you and I are embarking on. And we sort of aligned with it when we first met.
Sure, absolutely. That was absolutely God sent opportunity that we banged into each other at Mumbai.
And that was quite a profound meeting. I still remember that scene and the entire environment and us talking around so many topics. And here we are.
Absolutely.
Now, for most of our listeners, silence means not talking. When we say, hey, just be quiet, so silence to many people means not talking. And for some people, it's actually an insult if we say, hey, why don't you just be quiet? Right. So let's firstly explore, what does it really mean to be silent? What is this silence that we're talking around?
So actually, when you say to someone that please be quiet, they take it like please shut up. That's the whole problem. And but what we mean by silence is actually the inner voice, which is always on interpreting, analyzing, judging, evaluating each and every data that our senses comes across. So till the time that analysis mode is on, we call it a meaning making machine. Unless and until that meaning making machine is not completely halted, we cannot experience silence. And even if we shut up in the external world, it is good enough initially that first we have to withdraw from talking unnecessarily. There are certain things that even if we don't talk about, that's absolutely fine. But we keep on interpreting and keep on giving our judgments and views and opinions on everything. So once we realize that external noise has to be minimized, then only we can take a plunge in the inside world of thoughts where we are talking and giving replies to our own thoughts. So that's where the real silence comes in, when the internal meaning making machine is completely shut and we become pure consciousness.
Mm, mm. And for our listeners, they're probably thinking, okay, so they're talking about two aspects here of silence and quietness. The first is for us just to be quiet, not talk out verbally, aloud, not talk out aloud. And then the other aspect is, okay, so you've stopped talking out aloud, you're not responding to someone else verbally, you're not talking back, in whatever way. And then there's the other aspect. Once you've quietened that external verbalization, then you are left with this inner chatter, this inner world, which at times is even more noisy than anything we encounter out in the real world. So, what they're saying is also, okay, so now that you have this inner chatter, then you need to focus on quieting that. And then once you do that, there's a third aspect. It seems as if you're dropping lower and lower and lower to the most fundamental aspect of all of being. And that's what you encounter in this inner silence.
Right. Absolutely. But when we start, shutting down the external noise, it's very important we train our environment. If I suddenly stop replying to my people, they would not understand. And as a matter of fact, when I do something forcefully, that will create more inner noise. I may become quiet outside, but then inside, something would tell me that no, I am supposed to reply to these people. So one has to understand that you have to give reasons to your people first. If you are entering into the world of silence, it's very important that I tell my wife, my children, my husband, my father, my mother, whosoever I'm connected with, my friends, my neighbors, or if I'm unable to enroll them, then I should leave that place and go somewhere for a retreat or a 7-day place or a 10-day vacation where I can be with my own self. So it's very important that disconnecting with the external voice should not be in an abrupt fashion. Otherwise, it will create more noise inside. So that's the first step. And the second step is, of course, when one starts becoming a witness to our own thoughts and voices which are going on inside. When we do that, by default, the speed of the thought and the words which are there all the time going incessantly inside the mind keep on calming down. And one time comes when there is absolutely complete silence.
Mm. Mm. And it's important also, as you had mentioned, to realize, yes, we live in this social world where we're almost all the time surrounded by people who are in some way demanding that we communicate with them or respond to them. And what we're saying is, even in those situations, before you retreat into this silence or this form of not always engaging in this tit for tat, replying and responding, to alert them that perhaps you are going into this self retreat, even if it is for a few hours or even if it's just 1 hour, so that they themselves would be more aware of it, which would then take the pressure off you. And even better than that, as we were talking right now, is to perhaps experience this during a retreat or some sort of silent exploration, even if it is for a few hours, a quiet walk down the street, or just sitting in a quiet spot and meditating, whatever it is, to experience that silence inside you. And then as you do that, the speed of your thoughts also may decrease.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the way it goes.
Mm, mm. Now, for our everyday listeners who are so caught up in the world of work, if they are working, with the constant communication, or if they are at home with the constant communication with family, siblings, partners, etc., how would they start this journey then to explore what we're talking about, this ultimate feeling of silence? How would they start this? Let's talk more about this.
Hey, unfortunately, this is not possible. It's not possible. You have to take a plunge. You have to literally, uh, leave everything to observe your own thought processes and the voice inside. Till the time we are in the society, we are in the world of people, we are in the world of making money, being ambitious. It's not possible at all. I have personally tried that and failed miserably many times till I decided to quit everything. So it has a very, and only those people who are willing to literally die in the world of the Maya, die in the world of attachments, or to literally go off approval seeking, appreciation, who have tasted everything and came to the realization that no, this is not for me. I have been to parties, this is not for me. I have earned a lot of money and still I am a beggar inside. I have drunk to my heart's content. I have bought big cars. I have been to the best places of the world, and still I am a bloody beggar inside. So till the time I don't realize myself and I try to do or be silent, that will boomerang very badly. That's the problem.
Mm, mm. And that's interesting. You've mentioned so many things right now, and from what I've experienced as well, you know a little bit about this. I've lived on my own in many countries for close to 40 years now. This means being away from that familiar family situation, being away from everyone that I've known since growing up as a child. And that somehow has ignited something within me. Yes, there's so much of that chatter and that constant noise was somewhat subdued. And then, as I continued my journey in many different vocations and working pursuits, I began, in fact, exploring work journeys and vocations that allowed me to enjoy that inner silence as well. So that's important too. Yes, it's so difficult at times for people to imagine that they can, in their noisy environment, begin this retreat, even if it is for a few hours to experience what we're talking about. So that's one. The other I found very powerful for me, especially over these last 40 years. It's something that everyone, each of us experiences every 24-hour cycle. And we do experience that beauty of silence, even though many of us can't consciously remember it. But that is the beautiful buffer that we've been blessed with in this life that we have, and that is the power of sleep. It's when we go to sleep at night. Initially, yes, we have these dreams, a lot of chatter, a lot of activity, a lot of this and that, and we're still immersed in all of this noise. But then there comes a time in sleep, which all of us have privy to, which is complete silence. In the Western world, they call that deep sleep, but they themselves haven't explored it enough. Not enough as the Indians, the great Indians of India, and the ancient rishis have already explored it and come across this and talked about this at length. This great stillness that we enjoy in that time of sleep. And it's when we're getting up in the morning, we're still immersed in that beautiful, beautiful stillness. And if in some way during that first few minutes that we awake while still lying in bed, still fully embraced in that quietness and stillness, if we can just prolong that for a few minutes longer, I found that the day then actually becomes more harmonious. So this is what I would suggest also to our listeners. Once they're immersing themselves out of this deep sleep in the early hours of the morning, to just sort of still in some way enjoy that, even if it is for a few minutes as they open their eyes, and then notice how much more different your day becomes. So that's just something that I thought I'd throw in there.
Sure, perfect. The whole idea is that, anything that works is the way for us actually. See, every experiences silence in different ways, but silence is one. Silence may be accessed through maybe by eating, maybe by meeting people. There are few people, when you meet them, you feel silent because you don't have to speak with them. They are understanding. There's a deeper level of chemistry. There are vibes which are matching. You resonate with each other. So silence can be entered. Sleep, of course, that's the most beautiful thing. If a person can have, uninterrupted, which is called the REM sleep. And so, yeah, definitely. Very well said.
And as we round up this introduction to silence and exploring more of our inner selves, what questions would you have for our listeners to ponder on until our next episode? Because this series of episodes, our dear listeners, will be quite interactive. So we would encourage our listeners, after they've listened to this first introductory podcast in the series, to then think more on this and send us your questions. And when we share the podcast as well, wherever it is on social media, go ahead and interact with your questions, with your input, with whatever your thoughts are. And if you want, also do record a voice note and send it in to us, and we could play it on the next podcast as we also answer your questions. So from my end, that would be my input to the listeners. And what would you then recommend for the listeners, Shashank?
Yeah, so one can look at their relationships, because that's the biggest area in one's life where primarily majority of us get stuck. So they can look at their relationships and why there is insecurity, what is the reason, why there is fear. And then they can look at their life around their ambition, making money. We want to prove ourselves to the world. So they can really ask themselves, what is it that I want to prove to the world? Or they can even look at their health, their bodies, which primarily is the biggest sign that gives away when one is internally not healthy.
Yes, indeed, because we are vibrational beings, and how we think and how we feel affects the physical body that we live in. Very well said. Yes, indeed. And on that note, this has been a delightful introduction, Shashank.
Thanks, V. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, and likewise. And we look forward to the listeners interacting and posing some interesting questions, or sending us your comments or voice notes. And on that note, we shall now journey into silence. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging with Dr. V Podcasts, inspiring inner peace to world peace. Come join the conversation, subscribe, and send in your questions, voice notes, and ideas. Find our upcoming broadcasts, archived shows, helpful tips, and more at drv.com. That's D-R-V as in victory, I-E.com.